Hey guys, welcome to episode 7 of the LifeHack Show. This is Greg Sellar here. We're about to go live on Bondi Radio. I will introduce my lovely co-host for today, Ms. Bella Zanesco, in just a second. But thank you for joining us wherever you are watching us, and we are ready to go. So stick with us, and once again, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the LifeHack Show with Greg Sellar.
Broadcasting from the world-famous Bondi Beach.
Welcome to the LifeHack Show with Greg Sellar. Well, I should say with Greg Sellar. That's me, isn't it?
It is you.
makes it sound. Anyway, welcome. This is our weekly mashup where we get in there and hack the status quo. All those unhelpful thinking and behaviors, we're going to smash them, we're going to trash them, we're going to challenge them, all with the hopeful outcome. I'm not going to guarantee it, but it's the hopeful outcome, because you've got to do some work, that we will get some great outcomes. And speaking of an amazing outcome today, I want to introduce my special guest co-host for this hour, episode number 7, Ms. Bella Zanesco. And the crowd goes wild. Woo! So, just to give you a little bit of history on Bella, she is a newly crowned author. So we'll give you a round of applause for that right now. And we're going to talk about the book a little later on. But also a former world sailing champion and a corporate strategist responsible for over $5 billion worth of new revenues for some of the biggest companies around the world. But you've left all that behind now. Good on you. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And you're now working as a business, as a life and well-being strategist, giving people the tools that they really need to fully express themselves as leaders in both their lives and their careers. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. It's awesome to be here. I'm just staring out at the beach right now, and trying to spot some whales, but I'm not having any luck yet.
No, I think we're out of whale season. That pretty much ends in September, but I know that between, if you're here at the right time, you're almost guaranteed to see them, particularly early in the morning and late at night. That's enough about whales. I was going to say, speaking of whales, I was looking at you, but that would have come across like totally wrong. So I'm just thinking, moving on from the whales. How did you make the change? I mean, corporate strategists, big on business, big on gaining new business for massive companies around the world, and all of a sudden one day you just go, nah, don't want it. What led you, what got you to that place?
Look, I think, 15 years of what I used to call battling my way up the corporate ladder, just didn't agree with me.
I love that as well, battling up the corporate ladder, because it is a bit of a battle for most, isn't it?
Totally, especially for women, to be honest. And I think what happened is, there was a whole cluster of royal screw-ups, let's call them, that led me there and to the fateful moment where I couldn't do it anymore, really. And I think in the end it was just, it didn't feel right anymore. And
so when you talk about it, you're allowed to say clusterfuck, just don't say it too many times.
Oh, I thought we agreed I wasn't going to swear.
It's all right. So the thing is like, was it really for you, and we can talk about this later on as well, was it a slow burn for you, or was there one thing that was like tipped you over the edge? Was it a quick thing or a slow thing that built up over time?
Look, I think, for about 5 years, I'd been really starting to question what I was doing. I was, when I had my annual leave, I was taking off and going to Africa and spending time with, kids in slums and taking photographs. And whenever I could, I was actually out with the camera. And I realized that I had more passion for people and their stories and their experiences. And my annual leave just kept going, and I needed to take more, like 3 months a year. And so I realized that things weren't going so well if I had to do that. You were in a
workplace that gave you 3 months a year annual leave?
Actually, yes. One of the last companies I worked for in London, it was fantastic because it was a consulting firm, and so we didn't have business. We were able to do that sort of stuff. So
perfect. So you're in the corporate world. how did you end up in the... We talked about this a little bit with Tom last week, who was a career coach, and how people end up being so far off track to what they think they should be doing versus coming to the realization of what they really want to be able to do.
How did I know?
How did you know? Like, what were the signs, or how did you end up in the wrong place?
Look, I think it was, I liken the experience to, a frog in a pot of water.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that analogy before?
Yes. Is that the one where you put a frog in hot water and you'll actually kill it because you can boil it, because if you put the temperature up slowly it can't tell, versus dropping it in straight away where it would jump out?
That's exactly right. So I liken the experience to that. I was about 18 or 19 when I made the first sacrifice of the soul, and it just kept going on and on and on from there. And then by the time I was like 30, 35, I was like, whoa, I'm actually boiling to death. And I was, because there was some pretty unpleasant things that ensued. Okay,
so boiling to death, you put that a little nicer in your book, where you call that the downside.
Yeah.
If you had to tell the listeners what the downside actually is, how would you describe it?
Yeah. So I guess it's not like sitting on Bondi Beach right now, which as we look out, the sun's shining, people are happy, they're wandering around, they're surfing, they're doing cool stuff. Downside is really the opposite of that. It's a place where it's cloudy, where your mind is full, where your mind is foggy, where you feel bad more often than you feel good. Some other ways you might know is that you might not want to get out of bed on a Monday morning to go and do something. And you lose your sparkle for life.
Tom talked about that last week as well. He called it the 60 minutes test or theory, where you know that clock that goes down on 60 minutes, and it always played on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So there's that sense of impending doom come Sunday night around 8:30 when 60 minutes was on, and you used to hear the clock and just think, I don't want to go to work. This is not the life I want to lead.
Totally. And I mean, look, it's not just me. I've since found out that like 65% of people actually do not want to turn up to work on Mondays. So it's pretty incredible.
65%? I mean, that's, over... I mean, it's over half, but I was just... The reason I paused there was because I'm looking out at this scene, and I think to myself, okay, half of these people actually get to a point where they don't want to do something. And it's not just once, it's 5 times every single week for 45 to 50 odd weeks of the year. That is a huge amount of time to be spending doing stuff that you don't like doing.
Totally. And if you think about it, if you were actually spending that time leveraging your strengths and your talents and what you're passionate about, imagine how much more fantastic the world would be. There'd be no one pushing past you in the lifts. There'd be no carnage coming out of train stations and people like hustling and bustling with their frowns to get to where they're going, would there?
Yeah, and it's probably prevalent in every major society. I mean, it's definitely a lot more in the huge pressurized cities like London, New York, maybe in Paris to a certain extent. Those cities are real go, go, go. We have a little bit of a better balance here, I think, in Sydney in terms of, the natural side of what you can escape to when you need to. It's in quite close proximity, but it's not something or any way that you want to live your life. When you talked about being in the fog or having thoughts that actually stopped you from, I guess, living the life you want to be able to lead, how can you expand on that? Like, what's your story? How did you know?
I think I started to know when I was losing enjoyment of regular activities, and that everything in my life became about my work, and that my whole identity was in fact tied to my job title, my fancy car, my big salary, all of those external things. And they started to, really overtake this person that I used to be when I perhaps was a little girl. And so I think, that is really when I, knew that things were off track. And And in essence, there was just a couple of pretty major occasions, you know, a huge bunch of cluster, and I'm not going to say the word, I'm not saying the word, but of screw-ups, you know, of the health variety. So my body started screaming at me, and, you know, depression, adrenal failure, burnout, they were all things that sort of hit me pretty hard. So
okay, so let's talk depression. How do you actually know? And this is me asking the question there, because I don't have a psychology degree. How do you actually know that you're in depression versus just being kind of in the ebb and flow of life? I'm happy sometimes, I'm not happy at other times. Sometimes I'm on fire and in a state of flow, and other times I feel like, you know, shutting the world out and closing it down and not participating at all.
Yeah, totally. Look, I think, you know, it's a fine balance, and those that are clinically diagnosed with depression, that is, you know, a disorder of sorts where you lose enjoyment of daily activities, you have zero motivation, and really, you know, you don't want to get out of bed in the mornings, and for a lot of people, you can't. There is some theories that, you know, that is relating to a chemical imbalance in the brain, but more latterly science is starting to reveal that that's actually triggered by stress and gut microbiome imbalances. And how do you know if you've really got depression versus you're just depressed? It's clinically diagnosed as a result of the amount of time that you've felt like you've been in that downside. So if you've just been in it for a week or two, that's totally normal. If you can't pull yourself out of it, if you spiral, if you isolate yourself, you don't look after yourself, etc., they're pretty surefire signs. If they've been going on for, you know, a month or two or longer, then yes.
Okay, so it's as quick as a month or two.
It can be for some people, yeah.
It's funny. I had a coaching session ages ago with a guy, and I really lacked direction, and my bank balance was, I could see it coming down and down and down and down. And I was like, okay, I knew how to pull myself out of it, but I actually didn't want to. Like, I didn't want to do the things that I knew were going to haul me out of this state that I was in, thinking wrongly that if I just sat around and waited, that eventually something would pop up. And that's been one of the tricky things for me, is like 9 times out of 10 it actually does, like something always does pop up. But I knew I'd have to do something, so I sat down with this guy, Chris was his name, Chris Walker. And I remember him saying to me, like, very clearly, mate, you are on a track towards, like, at the moment it's just hovering around, like, dissatisfaction. But he said it's a very, very quick and a very, very slippery slope to just those first signs of depression, because you can't work out how to get yourself out of it, and that's problematic. So we had to sit down, we had to do, you know, several things, including, you know, just creating some kind of vision for what we wanted to do in the future, and then how do we go about that. So it was a really interesting thing to think, although I would never, ever, 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 ever call myself depressed, just some of my thinking and some of my behavior actually was the first signs of that slope into depression or being depressed. So for you, getting to that rock bottom, what was rock bottom for you?
For me, it was ending up in my mother's arms at, 36 years old, saying, how did my life actually end up like this? I'm smart, I'm a smart girl, I'm savvy, I'm financially successful, I've been successful in my career, but now I'm unable to actually get myself out of bed and make my own food. So, you know.
And it's interesting because you came from that banking background. You, like you said, you had the car, you had the house, you had the great paycheck. I think what's becoming more known to most people, I won't say everyone, because a lot of people place finances as the main measure of success, is that it doesn't actually come from money. there is that bottom level of Maslow's hierarchy where you need to satisfy the idea that, look, as long as I can pay the bills, as long as I can, satisfy my daily needs in terms of finances and not get behind in that, what or how much extra do I actually need to create a great life? And does that great life come from me, or does it come from me working harder in order to get more finances? What do you think in terms of that vicious circle that some of us can get caught in over money?
Yeah, great question. So there's been some studies done on this, and they've found that once you've actually reached the national average of income in a country, so wherever you are, whatever that national average is, your happiness is actually not improved the more money that you make. And in fact, some studies have actually revealed, and even the NAB Wellbeing Index, which I quote a lot in my work, which looks at the well-being of Australians in all different types of age groups and segments and things, it basically shows as well that money actually has a diminishing impact on most well-being drivers once you hit that average income. So community, family, relationships, all of those things that are really high level wellbeing drivers, actually the more money you have doesn't help you achieve those things. So it's fascinating.
I always laugh at like some of the basket cases. I know you have to be a certain type of person to be in the film, the television or the music industry, which makes up a lot of what we would call celebrity. And you think, okay, well, here's people who seemingly have it all in terms of financial wealth, cars, they can book holidays in Saint-Tropez on massive yachts. But then, you look at somebody like, and I'm going to use the Uber example here of like Kim Kardashian. I mean, the Kardashians are like basket cases a lot of the time. There's such drama surrounding their everyday experience that you just think, what is the trade-off between living a good life and having loads of money? And for those who do own loads of money, what are the additional pressures that take them away from being, how many fat CEOs do we know?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, in my own personal experience and those of the women that I work with, I find that the more that we simplify our lives, the happier that we become. And you've been through this yourself, so
yeah.
Exhibit A over here.
Exhibit A, that would be me. Well, it's not that it is simpler. Let's face it. I was just going to try and convince you that it's not that it's simpler, it's just that I've changed my priorities, but in actual fact, by changing my priorities, it is simpler. And bizarrely enough, when you simplify stuff, when you simplify your message, when you simplify, for example, what you're offering people, in actual fact, it pulls your focus into just a couple of things rather than that real scattergun approach. And then you end up making more money anyway because it's something you're passionate about. So when you speak to other people with that passion, they pick up on that, and then it kind of begets more work and things start to mushroom. So rather than getting out there and having a fight for something that you don't truly believe in, when you can actually work from what you like, then that's pretty much the holy grail. And so how did you make the switch from, okay, I'm at rock bottom, I'm depressed, I'm in my mum's arms, things aren't going clearly very well, I'm 36, how did I get here? Despite everything I have, what did you do?
The first thing I did, and it's such a beautiful story and I love recalling this, was my mum actually had my nieces over, so she's the grandma, and they were 3 years old at the time, and it was super cool because I was crashed out in bed and I heard my mum put on this track called Waterloo,
ABBA.
Waterloo. Yeah, you know that one?
Yeah, don't ask me. I mean, I totally know the song, but don't ask me to sing the next line.
Yeah, the listeners at home might get a bit of a fright.
It's something I wanted to
be with you. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so there are...
Interesting fact, ABBA won the Eurovision Song Contest with that.
Did they?
Yeah, that's the song that put them on the map. That's for you, Brian Watson, if you're ever listening to this.
There we go.
Continue your story.
Wow, totally lost my train of thought now. But anyway, and I heard them singing and dancing with my mother in the lounge room. And I sort of crawled out of bed and I just laid on the couch and I just watched them. And I remember thinking two things. The first thing was, wow, look at them. Look how joyful they are about life, and look how much in the flow zone they are, and how they're just loving life. And then I looked at my mother, who's about 60, she was about 63 at that time, and I just remember looking at her joy as she was aging with her granddaughters, right? And I just thought, I want to get old like that. And the way I'm going to get old like that is to reconnect with who I was when I was a little girl. And so that was the first sort of spark of what I like to call the desire effect. Because you will never make change in your life if you don't really have a desire that outweighs your fear or your deepest fears to try. And so that was sort of the catalyst moment, I guess, to begin to make some changes.
It's funny, like just movement, and it could be any type of movement, and also music and that combination. That's why I like group exercise and boot camps and the sense of community that you get around that. You know, it floods your brain with that feel-good hormone serotonin. The endorphins kick in and people feel good. It was quite funny. On the weekend we were in the car and I was driving somewhere, and I remember the song that actually got me involved in the fitness industry, and it was Jimmy Somerville singing "You Make Me Feel Mighty Real," which is possibly like it's such a good song, and I can remember it playing in the aerobic studio at the time, and they were doing like running around the room or something, and I just thought, oh my God, like that combination of music and movement and the ability, I still run now with music in. It's such an important thing, and I joke because I don't do religion. I joke that music is my religion, and it is. It will be the one thing that can make me feel sad or instantly make me feel happy. And I just think if I wanted to have a positive force in my life, it's not going to be a man in the clouds, it's going to be music.
It is music, yeah. For me it's dance and music, but yeah, so that's kind of how things kicked off. And then I was actually here, and it's really interesting for me to be, you know, sitting here looking out at the beach right now. And about 4 years ago, I was down here at the beach, and this was before I started, you know, a committed yoga practice and things like that. And I saw these beautiful women, and there's no shortage of, you know, beautiful people here at Bondi, is there? Like we're looking out now, and it's like
damn them all.
Yeah, damn them all. Yeah, woo. But yeah, I remember I was lying on a beach towel, and I saw these like three beautiful women sort of run down from. Looks like they were coming from yoga because they had these mats.
Were they in slow motion?
Oh, I think so.
Doing the full on Baywatch run.
Yeah, they were doing the Baywatch run. They had their mats, and they were like sauntering down to the beach. Just like, they just looked fabulous, and they looked healthy and happy and loving of each other. And I just thought, you know, I looked at them and I was like, I want that. You know, in absence of actually knowing really what I wanted at the time in my life, because I had no clue, I knew that I wanted that. And so I just literally started. The next thing I did was just started with a list of.
I thought you were going to say I started following them. I started stalking them.
I think maybe some of them became my friends later on through yoga and things. But you know, it's pretty funny because then I just started with a list and I wrote down all the things that I felt most of the time.
Yeah.
And then I wrote another list, which was all of the things that I wanted to feel, and I literally set my life up to start to prime for some of those feelings that I wanted to feel.
So I think that's a really good tip as we head into our first chunk of music. You know, the idea that you write a list of, what's the top list? The first one?
How you feel.
All right,
how
so
you're currently feeling.
How you currently feel, and then you write the second list, which is?
How you want to feel.
How you want to feel, okay?
Yeah.
And then I guess you have to come up with some actions to close the gap between the two or bridge the gap?
Totally, yeah. So it helps you understand what's going well and what isn't. And yeah, you just write, you know, some of the things that you think could start to prime you to feel better more often. And if you can't figure it out for yourself, look around you and what people are actually doing, because, you know, you might look at someone and go, wow, I wouldn't mind trying that. Or you might see, like I did, a group of girls on the beach, or you might see someone, you know, out walking with a nice outfit that you'd like to, you know, have a go in. Like, it could be anything.
That must be a girl thing.
It must, well, I don't know. Is it?
Probably not. I always have I always have clothing envy.
Yeah.
Less so in Australia, I must say.
Oh, I agree. 100%.
No offense to the Australian men, but seriously. All right, so here we go. We're going to head into some music, and we will be back shortly.
Pure Class A, high voltage, ultra live and direct. This is Bondi Radio.
All right, to the viewers out there, thank you for continuing to join us. We're going to drop the shade just a little, or lift the shade. So I've been fascinated. I don't know if you picked up in my intro that Bella was actually a world champion sailor. What?
What? I know, it's pretty funny, isn't it?
Well,
something I keep a bit quiet these days.
Like what? Like sailing big boat, small boat, round the world, just here, speed, distance. Explain. Please explain.
Please explain. Look, you know, sailing was my first love. So when I was about 8, my dad took me out on the water for the first time on a really fast catamaran, and literally that just took over my energy, and I was just like, boom, I love this sport, and it's stayed with me for a lot of my life. And yeah, so I sailed fast catamarans.
Yeah.
You know, we'd sail fairly well the wind speed, and we'd do that all over the world. So in the most tropical locations, we used to have a rule that all of our championships had to be in the most beautiful places. So in the Caribbean, in like French Riviera, like where else did we go? Like South Africa, all over the world actually. So yeah, speed and like tactics was our thing.
And what does it take? What does it take to become a world champion? Like, if you were to say, what are you a world champion in, first of all?
Yeah, so there's a catamaran class called a Hobie Cat.
A what?
A Hobie Cat.
Hobie Cat.
Yeah, they're super cool. They're really fast. They're what you see on the beach. And they're the world's biggest sailing class, actually, by numbers of people that sail them. So, yeah, so I'm a world champion in that.
And do you do, is that a solo pursuit or a team?
It's teams,
Yeah.
so 2 girls.
Okay.
Yeah, so my sailing partner and I, and gosh, what does it take? Well, it actually took 9 attempts, so that was quite a few attempts.
Let that be a lesson to everybody out there.
It took me
9 attempts.
It took me 16 years actually to become a world champion. So yeah, there's a bit of resilience that needed to go into it.
I know, it's one of those stories though, and it's typical of anybody who kind of gets to A level or A position in any industry that they're working in. You kind of go, wow, world champion, you know, and people like look at that and aspire to it, but at the end of the day it takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And I remember this quote as well, that a lot of the time the people we put in pedestals aren't actually extraordinary, they're just ordinary people who have made themselves extraordinary. And I think that's great, because people forget like the graft that it takes, all the practice, the hours spent. Nothing ever comes quickly, and if it did, people usually lose it quite quickly as well.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Like, it was, you know, there was so many fits and starts, you know, all through my 20s I really pushed my body really hard, had to go beyond the limits that I actually had, and that's what caused a lot of, you know, my health issues as well in my 30s, is that, you know, like I literally had pushed my body that hard that it just broke down.
Yeah.
And I wasn't strong enough in my core to actually sustain it. And it wasn't until I took a step back, I took 7 years off actually professional sport, and I was like, you know what, like I'm actually going to do this properly, and I'm going to do it with love and passion, and I didn't care less if I actually win. I'm just doing it just to find myself again and fall in love with being out in the water with my sailing partner and having a great time. So yeah.
Good. And you've just moved back to, you're not in Bondi now, but where are you? Rose Bay?
Just up the hill, yeah.
Just up the hill.
Just up the hill in
After a
Dover
short-
Heights.
Oh, nice. For any of you who don't know where Dover Heights is, it's the nice part of Waverley. Well, it's all pretty good, but Dover Heights is the especially affluent area. How did you get in there? No, I'm joking.
We didn't. we do the smart thing and rent like everybody else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, so we met at Wired for Wonder every year, although they didn't do it this year, did they?
No, I think it's just plan for next
Plan
year,
for
right?
next year.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Sarah Rucroft.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah. Yeah, so we met at Wide for Wonder, which was a great event for, it's a little bit technology, it's a little bit about thinking, a little bit about innovation, expanding your horizons, whether it be a career or life. And I was speaking there at that event, and you had some really great dance workshops. Tell us a little bit about the dance workshops that you held.
Yeah, so I'm a really big fan of supporting people to really get out of their body, get out of their heads and get into their body. Because as soon as we do that,
Get out of their body.
Get out of their body. Whoa!
Astral planing.
Let's get out of our body as well.
That's next year.
No, that's the next book.
Yeah.
I'm going to write the next book about out-of-body experiences. No, big fan of getting people grounded into their body so that they can really tap into, what their feelings are, what's actually going on in there, what's it trying to tell you. And dance is actually one of the most effective ways to do that, and it's an extreme form of self-expression. I mean, you never really meet a child that didn't ever want to dance, but what happened to us adults? We stopped dancing. So Sarah said to me, what do you want to create?
Well, we stopped dancing, at least in public.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well, there you go.
That's the caveat to that. Privately, we might have our own little boogie, but even those are few and far between.
Yeah, that's right. So I started this thing in London a couple of years back when I was living there in the winters called a lounge room revolution, which just brought people together into our front rooms in London. And we had music and we had song and we were singing and dancing, and I was like, wow, there's a concept here. So I did a lot of training in dance and just decided, hey, I'm going to create something that mixes dance with vision setting. And so it was called Dance to the Rhythms of Your Vision. And it allowed people to get tapped into, what their arms needed and what their legs needed and their body and their heart, and start to create a vision from that place in their lives.
Great. And would you set something up like that here? Is that the long-term plan? Or?
I don't know. I haven't really thought that much. I do in my own client workshops. I run these sessions. But yeah, so Commonwealth Bank had me back to do more. I've done them at other places as well. They're super fun. So yeah, why not? I mean, we could just rock one out here at the bucket list.
Rock one out at the bucket list.
Why not?
Lounge room dance.
We could do this next.
Sunday afternoon lounge room dance.
Yeah,
all right, we're
sure.
going to head back into our next section where we're going to flip everything that we've been talking about. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Pure Class A, high voltage, ultra live and direct. Bondi Radio.
Welcome back to Bondi Radio. This is the LifeHack Show with Greg Sellar and my glamorous co-host today, Ms. Bella Zanesco. So Bella, before the break we were talking about the downside, and I don't want to leave people hanging in the downside for too long. So we will get to the upside, but before we get there, it's really interesting in your book. I love that section where you talk about, and I think that's how you actually bridge the gap from the downside to the upside, about how you need to become a needy bitch. Wagwan.
Whoa, yes, a needy biatch. My publishers made me put stars in there, I think, though. So
it's funny though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just own it.
Yeah, I'm just going to own it.
Well,
Okay.
we mean it in the nicest possible way, because basically with being a needy bitch, you're talking about putting yourself first. It comes back to that idea that you can't look after anyone else or live the life you want to live if you yourself aren't satisfied.
Totally. Look, I think focusing on your needs, in my research, about 60% of people actually don't know what they need on a daily basis. So if you ask them what they need, they say, well, I don't have needs, or I don't know what to do to actually meet my needs. And this concept of meeting our needs can seem a bit foreign, but at the end of the day, if we look at the idea or the notion that our needs are actually fueling our habits in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our needs that drive certain emotions, and they drive certain behaviours, and they define certain patterns, and then they define certain habits. Then really the needs are at the root of them all, and there's a bunch of different types. We have physical needs, we have spiritual needs, we have emotional needs. But what I find is that a lot of people are out there trying to save the world, right? But they're not sleeping at night.
Yeah.
And it's how sustainable is it? You can't really save the world if you're not sleeping, right?
Sure. And, I notice the difference. How much sleep do you get a night?
About 9 hours. So
9?
I'm in bed. Yeah, so I'm in bed, and this is a
Ye
confession. Like,
gods.
the people that know me, I'm a total nana. In the
I
winter,
don't even think nanas get 9 hours sleep. They sleep less than that.
Yeah, 9 p.m. it's lights out, and 6 a.m. like with the sun, I'm up. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. I could do 6. There's no way I could go to bed at 9. Sometimes I'm eating dinner at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Especially in summer when it's still light.
Yeah, summer, no, for sure. Like in the summer, I'm usually up till about 10:30, 11.
Ooh, pushing the boat out, Bella. Pushing the boat out. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, there is that idea of balance, and we're going to get into talking a little bit more about that. But yeah, sometimes you do need to be a needy bitch, and I'm going to use the word, biatch, to encompass both genders, because let's face it, men can be pretty bitchy as well, if the truth be told. All right, so you put yourself first. You step into this area of like, okay, here's what I need. I'm going to identify that, and I'm going to go and find a way to get it. Talk to us about the concept of electric fencing.
Yeah, so electric fencing sort of 101 is this notion of, imagine a big electric fence and there's a gate in the middle of it, and it's only really opened when you feel good about opening it. So this is really boundaries, right? This is about setting the big B word, which is all around knowing when to open that gate in the middle and when to keep it closed. And for me, to keep myself sort of safe and feeling great, I have to keep it closed quite a lot. So I actually had to learn a bunch of years ago to take that dirty little word out into the world, which is no, a lot more often. And it's been a pretty fun experience doing that, I have to say.
What a bitch.
I know, god damn it. Well, at least I'm not a total bitch. I'd rather just be a needy bitch
She's
than
just
a total
needy
bitch.
one.
Yeah.
So yeah, total. No isn't something. I find people often say yes too quickly, and then behind closed doors think, why on earth did I say yes to this? And then they end up hating the process, hating whatever they said yes to. Social occasions are a big one for me. And I find that I'm totally okay with the fact that there are going to be some things that my partner says I don't want to go to, and that's fine. And we've come to the idea that it's okay for me to also say no, I don't want to go to that. And we have to be okay with that, because there's no use forcing the other person into a situation where they're going to be miserable. He and I have very, very, very different tastes in music. I'm stuck in dance music. I want music that is going to make me happy, make me feel like it's uplifting, and he finds that same joy in what I call suicide Annie music. Because it's always like Annie Lennox type stuff. Annie Lennox, you put her on and I'm like, oh, honestly, like, she's got the most amazing voice. The lyrics are so heartfelt. The songs are so passionate, but they're all songs about loss, sorrow, bearing your soul. Adele.
Oh,
amazing singer. Loss, sorrow, splitting up, breaking up, crying, love's lost. Sam Smith, amazing singer, top of the charts. Loss, sorrow.
Totally.
I'm like, for God's sake, cheer up, people. So we have totally different things. Now, when they go in concert, when they come and tour Australia for a concert, do you want to go to this? No.
Fair enough. I mean, that's electric fencing 101 in action there.
Yeah, don't make me go, because you'll be wasting $120. Like, I can appreciate the amazing voice, but you're just asking me to pay for an experience that I know I'm not going to enjoy.
Yeah, I totally hear you on that, and I think it's so important to actually, this is just part of our own self-knowing, isn't it? Like, knowing thyself, which is, a lifetime journey for everybody, but the sooner that we actually start to say and put some of those boundaries in place, we actually free up much more energy to support us to ask all up to the upside.
Yeah, and I think that's important what you just said there. It's like having the courage and the confidence to be able to say to people, that's not something I want to do. And I make a joke of it. I'm like, look, as much as I'd love to, that would be like sticking pins in my eyes. And they do that, and then I'm off the hook. Champ Sharpie.
Totally.
Yeah, but like it's a really, it's a tough thing to do. And I just think, do you think it's an age thing as well? Like I've noticed since I've turned 40 that I kind of am like, well, I don't want to do anything, and I shouldn't have to do anything that I don't want to do. You know, there's stuff that you do out of duty because you should, as either a good friend or a supportive brother or son or whatever. But there's other stuff where I'm like, no.
Do I think it's an age thing? Like, I don't know. I mean, I work with women that are like, 50s plus all the way down to like 23, 24. And I can see them equally struggling or succeeding with, electric fencing. And I just think it's an important opportunity for us to spend more time doing what's going to help us prime for vitality. And if it doesn't, then why waste our energy on it? And that's the same with people. And so when I sort of started taking this practice out into the world, I was practicing in my mirror first, like pretending not to come across like a total biatch,
Yeah.
And then in the end, I just started writing lists. I'm a big list writer, and I just write down, like, is this experience or this person or this thing actually going to prime some of these feelings that I'm trying to, create in my life? And if not, it was like, no, it has to be a no.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not perfect at it. I mean, the last couple of weeks, I've just totally, had a massive cluster. I can't even begin to describe it, but... But at
least you had the courage to get out of it.
I did have the courage to get out of it.
Why sit there and do something that you don't want to do?
Totally, 100%. And that's the discernment, really. And I actually wrote a post about this, didn't I, yesterday on Facebook about discernment.
It's funny. We had a conversation yesterday because Bella came over and you dropped your book over at my apartment. And in doing that, she was talking about a certain situation. And then it came to a head last night, and I read a post that you put up, and I just questioned her before coming on the show. I was like, was that post directly related to what you were talking about yesterday? And she's like, yeah, the shit really hit the fan. But you know what? I just stepped out.
Yeah.
I just said, that's enough. And I was like, wow, that's good, because like when the money's good for what you're doing, when you are delivering something that is yours, most people would want to try and see it out, but that's a two-way street.
Totally, and I think that's the discernment, isn't it? It's like what we choose versus, there's a paradigm there between what we choose and what chooses us.
Yeah. And
so we can keep choosing things, but if the energy isn't choosing us back, then it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the discernment, and it's taken me about 3 to 4 years to actually start to get to that place within my own self to be able to say, you know what? No, like I need more energy right now. I need to be expansive. I don't need to be stuck in this low level consciousness, in essence, that's dragging me down. So, ciao.
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 That's your motto for 2018, everybody out there. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you. Would you like to come with us and have a drink? Ciao.
Ciao.
Goodbye. That's a no. And I'm completely fine with saying that's a no. But thank you for asking. Ciao.
Ciao.
Good. So, part of being a needy bitch, you have your needs. We ring fence it so that you actually set boundaries and have a level of confidence to be able to say no. What's the next part in creating a vision? Like, how do you actually get from downside to where we want to go?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Look, there's a bunch of things that one can do, and once we've started to prime for more happy feelings, let's just say, small actions. For me, that was just like making a green smoothie in the morning, getting out of bed, making the
Getting
bed.
out of bed, full stop.
You know, and these things,
Before 6 o'clock.
Yeah, no, I'm talking years ago, right?
All right,
like,
okay.
not now, but like, you know, so they're very small actions that help us make big change over time. And I think, you know, there was 3 things I did, and you know, one was, you know, make a green smoothie in the mornings instead of downing a bottle of wine the night before. The other one was just actually making the bed. Because I didn't used to do that either.
Yeah, people, can we have a quick talk about this?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Make your damn beds.
Make your beds.
Like,
I mean,
just make your bed. There is no excuse ever. You make your bed now, don't you?
oh my God,
Please
I'm
tell me you make
religious
your
about
bed.
making my bed nowadays. It's nuts. Like, I can't actually leave the bedroom if the bed isn't made.
Yeah, I have to say, 10 years ago, maybe not for me, but something's twigged where I'm like, it's just a level of self-respect. Pick your shit up off the floor, make your bed, do a general tidy, because you never know who's coming in. You should never, ever have to excuse your house because it looks like a shit show.
I mean, unless you have children, right? I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
but none of us want those. I'm kidding.
Oh, that's so harsh.
I'm kidding. Unless you have children, yes,
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
But you know, there's still some level of self-respect.
It's definitely self-respect, and like for those listening at home, there's an amazing talk by, I think, an ex-admiral of the Navy SEALs called William McRaven, I think. Anyway, he's amazing, and he talks about how he hacked his way to extreme high performance in his life from making his bed.
Oh, really?
So,
because
yeah.
it's interesting. I see it as what else don't you do? Like, if you're that lazy that you can't be bothered pulling a sheet and a doona up and just straightening a pillow, like, what else is that a sign of?
Well, you know, I mean, look, when you know, and all due respect to, you know, people that are suffering mental illness, sometimes you that's just too much for you in a day, right? Like, for me it was. So, you know, and one of those goals was really to actually just be able to make the bed. So I, you know,
Well,
extreme
okay.
empathy for those.
Caveat to
Yeah.
everything I just said. If
Yeah.
you've got a mental illness or there's something going on, then fine, there's something going on.
Yeah.
If you don't, make your bed.
Totally, 100% agree, 100%. So, yeah, but anyway, like, you asked about like how to, you know, haul to the upside.
Yes, that
wasn't
was
gonna say
that was a major diversion.
It was a
by the
diversion.
way.
We're having a great time in here. Like,
But I just think it's just one of those things. You know, do you ever watch those programs? We will get to creating a vision in a sec. Those programs where they go into somebody's house and they're just like, oh my God. And I'm like, you knew people were coming over. You knew the camera crew was coming around. Clean. Make your bed. Do something. Because all you're doing to the nation is looking like a pig.
yeah, totally. It's super interesting, isn't it? I think it is a mark of self-respect to have a clean house. I'm a big fan of that, because I believe that like a clean house or a clean space or a clean workspace actually enables a clear mind. It's very difficult to think, you know, organised thoughts if your environment's a total pigsty, and that's actually one of the things I recommend when you are moving towards the upside. Consider your environments. You know, considering like how do they reflect you. I remember like one of the big catalysts for me was, you know, about 5 years ago when I had depression. You know, the house we were living in was infested in cockroaches. You know, and that was just disgusting. I was putting up with that, but
Well, they say it comes from a clean house, don't they?
Oh God,
Isn't
I don't
that
know.
what they said?
I don't know.
Cockroaches actually only go into clean houses. They probably don't stay clean for very long afterwards.
But I think, you know, it's also a metaphor for like cockroaches in your mind and cockroaches, you know, bully cockroaches in your workplaces and things like that, right? So that is definitely one of the tools that one might want to take a look at their environments, their work environment. Do they feel energized? Do they feel excited to head into the office, and is that an environment for them? But more importantly, even more foundational than that is, you know, once we've sort of started to think about how we want to feel and we start doing things, there's a bunch of decisions we've got to make, right? Like, and these are just everyday decisions about our boundaries, but it's also starting to dig a little bit deeper into what do we believe right now and what do we want to believe, And how does that support the kind of vision that we actually want to create, so that, you know, when things get rocky, we've actually got something that is a bit bigger than who we are in our own ego, so that we can be putting into the world something that is going to leave a lasting legacy of sorts.
And so when you say we have to question what do we believe, what are you talking in the context of? Are you talking daily life, or beliefs, limiting beliefs, or work, relationship?
All of the above, really. I mean, we all operate with a belief ecosystem, and largely we've inherited those beliefs, about 80% of those, by the time we're 3 years old, in fact. So that's pretty epic if you start to think about it. So, and then by 18, almost 90-95% of those beliefs are actually solidified.
Yeah.
So we just become a replaying pattern over and over and over again of what we learned and what we're exposed to in our childhood. And it's not actually until we start to go through this sort of process towards hacking our way to the upside is that we actually realise that the only way we can do it is to focus on how we want to feel, make smarter decisions, and we can only do that if we're primed by a belief system that is driving us to where we want to go.
Good. So there's your second massive tip as we head into our second lot of music, and we're going to come back after the music and talk about the upside so that we can finish on the high.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Pure Class A, high voltage, ultra live and direct. Bondi Radio.
So, to the viewers out there, we are back. Relax.
Hi.
I find that I need to like sit up super straight just to be close here, when all I really want to do is like slouch and sink down.
Totally.
So how you doing? How you doing as we head into the Christmas break? Do things like slow down for you over Christmas, January with corporates and clients, or there's just never a non-busy day in the life of Bella Zanesco?
Oh, so look, you know, it all kicks off now.
Does
Thursday, yeah, Thursday night.
Oh yes,
yeah,
Thursday night we're down at the Sailing
Cruising Yacht Club.
Yacht Club. Continuing the nautical theme for you.
We are, yeah. We're celebrating the birth of smart girls.
Yes, and
Screw up to.
Yes, we'll get to the book. Make sure you've got your copy at all good bookstores, and Big W.
Big W, that's right. From January, people.
From January. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, no.
Pretty much.
I'm excited actually, because the next 4 weeks are really getting out on the road, so I'm gonna just be hanging out in bookstores.
Really?
Meeting booksellers. Yeah. Just gonna
should be walking the aisles.
Interviews and having fun, and doing all that cool fun stuff as you start to prepare.
And is the PR ramped up?
It is, yeah. We're kicking off now. So loads of fun journos coming to the launch, and can't wait actually, and I'm loving it. I've done a couple of interviews so far, and Alan Kohler, actually, I did last week, the Aussie financial journalist that used to be the editor, I think, of the AFR, and so that was super interesting because I was talking to him about like ancient tribal wisdom,
right,
and like neuroplasticity and epigenetics and stuff, and I think he was sort of geeking out a bit, I have to say. Like,
that's good.
Yeah.
It's good that you can cross all those spectrums. And so, what are your plans for Christmas? Are you staying here?
I am actually. First Christmas in Bondi in like, I can't even tell you how long. You're going to London. I'm going to London,
yeah. 17th, I'm on a big jet plane. I've got to cram in a quick LA San Diego trip next week for work. So looking forward to seeing everybody over there. And then I leave on the 17th, yeah. So we're going to do Christmas, New Year, seeing all the friends back in London. And then we're back ready to work on the 7th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's up for you next year?
What's up for me next year? Well, good question. I just finished my 30-day life hack program, which has been a labour of love for this year. So the workbook is with the designer at the moment. So I have to find a way to get it up on the website, gregsellar.com. Probably the aim would be, I'm going to set myself Australia Day, because I think that's also when a lot of the corporates come back and whatnot. But actually getting that workbook sent off to a couple of publishers would also be a big thing.
Oh yeah.
So I can join you in the author ranks.
Yes, we want
We
you
can
there.
have some author back scratching.
Back scratching, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be a great author.
So that'll be fun. And then obviously to continue doing a little bit of this, and yeah, we will see where the journey takes us.
It's going to be a fun year.
Yeah.
I think everybody's ready for next year. It's been a pretty hectic year for most people, hasn't it?
Yeah, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Lots of transitions have been happening, particularly for people I know. So, you know, the themes that are coming out in some of these shows, people are, not that they're hearing it from me, but they're hearing it from multiple sources, multiple people having made the jump, actually saying, you know what, it's actually pretty good on this side. Let's just find a way for you to hop on over. Speaking of hopping on over, let's find a way to get people to the upside. Let's bring it all back for chunk number 3.
Yeah.
Pure Class A, high voltage, ultra live and direct. This is Bondi Radio.
Welcome back to Bondi Radio. This is the Life Hack Show with Greg Sellar, co-hosted by Bella Zanesco today. We have one little last chunk before we head out for the day, and that is getting people to the upside. So we spoke about the downside. How do you know you're in it? What are some ways and some things to think about? We talked about being a needy bitch, and that goes for all you men out there as well. Bitches that you are. You know, the idea of electric fencing, and putting yourself first, because if you don't look after yourself first, how are you then going to look after everybody else? And then the last part of all of this is creating that vision out there and actually making the jump onto the upside. So just as we define the downside, how would you define the upside?
Look, I think there's 3 C's that I would use to describe, you know, how to find your way to the upside. 3 simple words. Number 1 is clarity. Number 1 is clarity. Number 2 is connection. And number 3 is confidence. And so one must ask her or himself, you know, do I have clarity? Okay, and that is a lot about what we talked about in the first session, which is thinking about, like, who am I? Like, that fundamental question. What do I want? And what matters the most to me? So when we start to explore those areas, we start to get clarity about who we are and what we want in the world. Mm-hmm. The second area is connection, which is all about connection to our mind, our body, our spirit, the workings, our health centers, our gut health, our mental health, for women, our menstrual health, our feminine, masculine balance, to really give us enough energy to be able to meet the demands of our day. And look, you know, it's super interesting, Greg, like 65% of people say that they don't have enough energy, right? It's just nuts, right? So if you want to haul your way to the upside and you want to be, you know, contributing in a way and having great relationships and all the things we all want, then being connected to who we are and what's going on in the inner workings of our body, mm-hmm. and getting those health things sorted out is pretty damn important. And then the third area is what I just call confidence, which is all of the things that we do on our outside jobs. So it's, you know, our environments, our friends, our relationships, who we choose to invite into our love relationships, and what we're doing for work. Let's be frank, because we spend a lot of time there, right? So, yeah.
Okay, so talking about like work, which you just mentioned there, and then, you know, the other side, the relationships, the friends, I guess everything else that sits on the opposite side to work. What are your thoughts around work-life balance? Because I've been reading a lot lately where people are kind of poo-pooing the idea that true balance, work-life balance, is actually completely unachievable. And the more you strive for it, the more you're going to set yourself up to fail. What are your thoughts?
My thought on this is that one should design her life first, his or her life first, and then focus on actually implementing and embedding a career that is related to the lifestyle goals and visions that you have. So for some people that want to go and bust their way up the corporate ladder for, you know, 10, 15 years and then sit pretty at like 45 and retire and go and live on a beach somewhere, You know, they're taking a very different path from someone who says, you know, I actually want to blend my work and my life and get up at, 7 o'clock in the morning, go surfing till 9, and then work from, 9 until 6, etc. Yeah, that's like people like us, right? And do that.
That's pretty much yesterday.
Yeah.
Except the surfing part.
Yeah, totally. Well, there's not much surf out there anyway. So
well, that and the fact I can't stand up on a surfboard.
Oh,
so
that's probably not going to help that much.
Well, substitute training.
But you could bodyboard.
Yeah, I could do many things.
You could do many things.
I could do many things. Thank you, Bella. I just can't surf.
But you like swimming, so it's all
and it's
good.
not that I can't surf. It's that I've never tried to surf.
Yeah, fair enough.
There you go.
There you go.
That's a growth mindset in action.
It is a growth mindset in action. So, I think it's really about, designing the life you want, and your work fits in around that. And, look, with the advent of all of the technology that we have now, there are people setting up businesses at a rate of knots. You can create that. It just involves some level of compromise on the other side.
So how would you say, when we talk about life auditing, what would a corporate audit need to look like? How would they know or get themselves into the upside?
Wow, it's really interesting. So there was a study done by a fellow Wiley author in the United States, and he talks about this notion of all of the research that he's done has actually found that organisations that have employees that are actually healthy and well, he's done a study over 5 years of shareholder returns. If you invested, imagine you invested $1,000 in the S&P 500 in 2012, right now that would be worth like $1,600, right?
Wow.
In 2017. But if you actually invested that same $1,000 into these leading companies that look after the well-being of their employees as number one, that would be worth $3,300. So almost double the return that you get in the S&P 500. Now, what's interesting, crazy, huh? Like, let's just let that stat land for a second.
What's an example of a company that springs to mind?
Sure. So organisations like Airbnb that put the employee experience front and centre. Okay. And so what they do, and many other forward-thinking organisations, they actually say, you know what? We're not going to do these fluffy engagement surveys that give us all these results and stuff. We're actually going to look and take serious care of the well-being of our employees and understand that that is our number one strategic asset. So they start by really auditing their people, right? Looking at what's going on for them in work and out of work, and helping build policies and practices and relationships within the business to actually know where to spend their well-being buck, really.
Fantastic. What a great idea. And clearly it's paying off for them. So how can an individual audit their life?
Yeah, so look, I think there's many ways. You can, get out a pen and paper, and you can, draw all the aspects of your life around your health, your careers, your relationship, and just give yourself a score, like out of 10, and just go, this is where I am and this is where I want to be, and start to, create some gaps between where you are and where you want to be. Or you can just go to my website and you can do it yourself on my website.
The shameful plug there. Quick,
tell
us the website.
So the website's fullyexpressed.me. So all
fullyexpressed.me.
Yeah, fullyexpressed.me, and so it's part of the overall proposition. You can do it for free, and you'll get a report, and it'll basically take the hard guesswork out of it for you, and help you figure out what needs to change. Fantastic.
So just before we go, we cannot let you leave without doing a very quick plug for the book, which is actually not out yet. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, it's not out yet. It's out in Jan.
So where is it? Hold it up for the viewers.
Hi.
And let's talk about it very quickly for the listeners. What's it called? Where can they get it? When's it out?
Okay, so the book's called Smart Girls Screw Up Too. Oh yeah. The No-Nonsense Guide to Creating the Life You Want, by myself. Actually, that's a bit weird, by Bella Zanesco. And it's on sale on January 5. It's so weird. I'm watching Greg parade to the
She gets a feed out on the rear cover for any of you with little foot fetishes.
I do, actually. I'm doing
there
the
you
barefoot
go.
style. Yeah,
so it's out on January 5th. I get it at all good bookstores. And Big W.
And Big W, because that's a good bookstore as well.
That is a good bookstore as well. And if any of our listeners, any of the Bondi Radio listeners or viewers on social media want to actually connect with you, where can they best go to do that?
Awesome. So just to add Bella Zanesco on Insta. That's a pretty good spot.
Do you want to spell it, because the Zanesco might get lost on it.
Bella.
Yeah, but I think we got that.
Surname is Zanesco, Zanesco, all one word on Insta.
Yep.
Same on LinkedIn.
Good.
And on the web, you'll find me on www.fullyexpressed.me.
Love it. All right. Well, listen, thank you, Bella, for joining me today.
Pleasure. Thanks
It's
for
been
having
an
me. It's
absolute
been epic.
thrill. Epic. Or as Bella would like to say, totally. So, thank you for joining us. This has been episode number 7 for the Life Hack Show. My name is Greg Sellar, and you can contact me on all social media handles at Greg Sellar, Sellar, or go to gregsellar.com to get in touch. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening in or for viewing wherever you may be. It's time to head back to the music, and from us to you, ciao.
Ciao.